Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan and this is Superhero Rewind. The question that should be asked before a project like Batman Beyond Return of the Joker is tackled is, can it be done in a way that isn't horribly contrived, and is there a real story to tell? Fortunately, the people in charge of this project were Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, who are the kind of guys who ask these sorts of questions. Much of the brilliance of this film is that there is a compelling, unpredictable story, and it doesn't feel like just an unwelcome extra video added to the series just because it got popular. In fact, it feels necessary. The movie has to be a lot of different things to be successful. It has to, first and foremost, be a Batman Beyond movie. You need the future tech, the same visual and musical style, and the story has to be about Terry McGinnis. But because the villain is Batman's greatest adversary, it also has to have some payoff for Bruce Wayne. The Joker has to be fun, witty, but as twisted as he can be written in a PG animated movie, and his return can't just be some contrived mess. After all, this is the reason Bruce Timm and his team didn't do a Beyond version of every villain from Batman the Animated Series. A, it's too obvious, and B, there are only so many plausible ways to make these villains work so far in the future without being as old and decrepit as Bruce Wayne. So this movie had to be both a Batman Beyond movie and a Batman the Animated Series movie, and it juggles all of that effortlessly. This is a story about two protagonists, Bruce Wayne, dealing with the grief of what happened to Tim Drake while they were still Batman and Robin, and Terry McGinnis, who wrestles with whether he is truly Batman or just Bruce Wayne's errand boy. The score also helps, which is a creative blend of classical orchestral film score as used in the first Batman series, and the electronica of Batman Beyond. I like how this movie opens, a big fun action scene with Terry as Batman flying around fighting the Joker's gang. Besides the superior animation and more cleverly plotted fighting, it isn't very different from watching an episode of the show. That's designed to get us in the mood. Don't worry, the film is saying, we're going to give you a real Batman Beyond movie. We like this show, and we'll prove it by using terminology such as slag, and bring back things like splicing, which is done with a half-hyena Joker's gang member. As the movie progresses, it starts its incredible balancing act. The Joker reveals himself at a public Wayne Enterprise function, spiraling Bruce into a strange funk Terry doesn't know how to react to. By the way, I do wish this had been the Joker's real entrance, rather than revealing him talking to the Joker's gang in the previous scene. I know his name is in the title, so his being there isn't much of a reveal, but still, it would have been fun for our first glimpse of him to have also been Bruce's. Oh well. Bruce tells Terry he's done a lot of good. There's no reason for him to go on being Batman, and he wants the Batsuit back. This is a good scene because it gives the background about the murder of Terry's father for viewers who haven't seen the show, and reminds the rest of us in case it's been a while. It also sets up a complex mystery that becomes the centerpiece of the movie. What happened with Batman and the Joker, and how could this possibly be the real Joker? I sometimes resist telling backstory and flashback, and I'm impressed that this one is arguably the best scene in the movie. The geek-out moment of Tim Drake swinging around the city as Robin was enough, getting to see the older Batman animation style one more time, but it comes with an unexpected story point. Joker kidnapped Tim Drake, gassed him, and tried to turn him into a hideous parody of what he was. To hurt Batman in the worst way possible, Joker creates a nightmare scenario in which he has transformed Batman's surrogate son, Robin, into Joker Jr., with Harley and Joker playing mother and father. It's more than that, of course. He's able to break Tim's will and learn from him who Batman really is. This is perhaps the most twisted thing the Joker has ever done in the animated continuity, and though no one actually dies, it stands a clever substitute for both the Killing Joke and a death in the family. Instead of trying to kill Barbara Gordon or Jason Todd, he does this terrible thing to Tim, and it provides Bruce with a terrifying tragedy that makes him question his decision to bring others into this way of life. I love how layered all this is. After all, what happened to Tim really isn't Bruce's fault. Both Tim and Barbara decided to become costume crime fighters on their own. This Bruce Wayne isn't the one from Frank Miller's All-Star Batman and Robin. He didn't kidnap these kids and draft them into his personal war. If he hadn't mentored these kids, taught them how to do the job right and stay alive, they would have gotten themselves killed. Each would have gotten into that life without Batman. There was nothing he could say or do to stop them. And the same goes for Terry McGinnis, which is why this movie is so cleverly balanced. The themes work in the past and in the present. Bruce kicks Terry out when he sees the Joker again because he's afraid the Joker will go after his new protege, and if something happens to Terry, he'll blame it on himself for getting Terry into the life. He reminds Bruce, I broke into the Batcave. I stole the Batsuit. And here he gives his best line in the film, "I was never a Robin," firmly establishing his own character arc. In the DVD commentary, Bruce Timm comments that this isn't Bruce's story, it's Terry's story. I have to respectfully disagree. I do think Bruce and Terry are very much dual protagonists. Both go through major character arcs, and they also teach each other something. By the end, Terry defeats the Joker his own way, by refusing to take him seriously, and by laughing at him, proving once and for all that he really is Batman. A different sort of Batman, but still Batman. His actions force Bruce to recognize this, and it's Bruce who says to him, "It isn't the suit that makes Batman, it's the man." But Bruce's revelation is just as important because he finally recognizes that what happened to Tim isn't his fault, and that every member of the Bat family made their own decisions, including Terry. He comes to grips with this by reuniting himself with Tim and Barbara in the final scene, and I love that Terry isn't invited into the room with them. It isn't that they don't accept him, it's that he's different from Barbara and Tim. This is, in essence, a reunion of a father with his children, but as Terry says earlier, he was never a Robin. This further solidifies him as the real Batman. The mystery is as good as the one in Mask of the Phantasm. It makes perfect sense that the Joker is using Tim's body, but other possibilities are raised, and it's hard to get a sense of what kind of person the older Tim Drake, with an excellent performance from Dean Stockwell, has become after the trauma in his past. Though it's a twisted reveal, I was relieved that it really was the Joker, and that Tim Drake wasn't responsible. And I will say, the idea of Joker putting his mind in a computer chip designed to genetically modify a host body to look like him is out there, but it's taken seriously and turned into a compelling mystery, so I found myself mostly accepting it. Besides, when the chip shorts out, it looks like a smiley face, and that's just awesome, as is the fact that the area Joker planned to blow up with a satellite is also a smiley face. The Joker's plot in the future is a little lame. It seems like the writers needed some plan for the Joker that Terry could foil, and it's beyond, so it had to be a future tech kind of plan. So having him blow up parts of the city with a satellite is what they came up with. It's okay, it's just not really the Joker's style. I'm not even entirely sure what he's trying to accomplish with this. He says that the area within what he blows up is Joker territory, and he's just not the kind of villain who cares as much about power as he does watching people in pain. On the other hand, maybe he's changed a little as he's gotten older. After all, he had to be forward-thinking enough to consider his own mortality, to put his mind in a computer chip, and that doesn't sound like the animated series Joker either. Now, Batman's too old to fight, so he has no choice but to kill him for good. After all, if he's gotta go, Joker would want the last laugh. I like the idea of Batman and Joker fighting forever so much that actually seeing their dance end is weirdly kinda sad. Guess it's lucky for me that Bruce Timm isn't the only Batman continuity. One of the best things done here is making Joker more sadistic than he's had the chance to be previously, especially with the creepy Family Memories slideshow, showing Batman just how they turned Tim into Joker Jr. More weight could have been added to this if characters were allowed to die. Imagine if Bruce were forced to come to grips with how Tim's death wasn't his fault, rather than just this awful trauma. Now don't get me wrong, it still works very well, and keeping Tim alive allows for the wonderful reveal that the Joker is still using him after all these years, like he used him against Batman. Still, I wonder what possibilities may have been afforded if the studio would have allowed Bruce Timm to kill off more characters more often. For instance, the Evil of Darkseid was wonderfully illustrated when he killed Dan Turpin in an episode of Superman the Animated Series, just by firing an optic blast at him. I did really like that Harley Quinn was allowed to die in the flashback after aiding the Joker in his twisted plot, and I really don't like the scene at the end, funny as it might be, of an elderly Harley bailing out the Dee twins. All in all, Return of the Joker is expertly written, brilliantly animated, and brilliantly voice acted. It's one of the best in the animated superhero category and deserves a 4 out of 4. Join me next time when I review Power Rangers the movie, which I plan to take far less seriously than this one. See you then.